Hey Jeff, hi. This is Mike Eline with Circle Legal Trust, and we got William Rock here today. We're going to talk about Google Analytics. Jeff Lapin just joined in. We're going to try to follow comments with the comment tracker here. And all right, looks like we're live. Go ahead, William. Introduce yourself a little bit and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
All right, sounds good. Thanks again for having me on the show. I mean, this is a fantastic opportunity, great group. I've actually worked with many attorneys on marketing. It is kind of a difficult industry. One of the biggest things is really lead gen. How do we actually get these people to our site when they go to our website? What are they doing, and if anything, are they doing what we want them to do? So what I want to show is basically a little bit of a demonstration for some analytics. We're just going to go live straight into a screen share. I think that's probably going to be the easiest way to really show this stuff. Come on, go to screen share. All right, tell me when you guys see the screen. All right, it's not working. Maybe I don't have control to do that. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you should be able to. You should be able to use screen share. It shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just keep going where I can't get screen share just yet. But really, what it comes down to is what you're looking for in your analytics. This is horrible. I'm sorry, guys. Let me try something here.
If you want, I can. You can log out, and I can re-invite you.
I'm not sure what it is. Hopefully somebody in our audience can tell us maybe what we're doing wrong. I know we've got a bunch of gurus that know more than I do about this this tool here.
Yeah, all you do is go to the upper left and click the arrow that says screen share. That's it.
Yeah.
If it's not working, you probably need to log out. And
all right, let me do that.
I'll send a new invite.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Hey, what's up, Andre?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. We're broadcasting. It's just that William couldn't get screen share to work, so he's logged out, and I've re-invited him. So this is the typical nonsense we have to deal with.
We should start the Hangouts like half an hour earlier.
Well, we did actually to try to get everything dialed in. I had him come in earlier privately, but
that's a mission, eh?
As usual, thanks Google for giving us another crazy Hangout problem.
No, it's not just you, Mike. It's I see it on other people have the same issues.
So William's back. So William, how are you doing with the screen share feature?
There we go. I have now got control for screen share. Thanks, guys, for holding.
Okay. I'm going to mute my microphone, so go ahead, and I'm going to turn my camera off too. I'm listening to you, but I'm also making some bottles for the kids. So
not a problem.
Go ahead and
okay.
take cards.
What we've got here is basically the entrance of a page, and I'm going to go back in the history of time because this account was live. It's got a lot of traffic, but it's actually a dead account. It was a politician at one time, so we did a lot of traffic in here. What I want to show a couple things right off the bat is my favorite tool in this actual dashboard is your shortcuts. Right now there's nothing in your shortcuts, but one of the most useful things, if I want to actually track an audience, say I want to know maybe Cincinnati, right? We'll use a location. So let's go and figure out what traffic I have in the United States. Once I get there, I can actually create what's called a shortcut. So it's going to stay there, and it's also going to be shared across other platforms or user platforms. So other people can actually use those shortcuts as well. Now, when we're looking at this, we can actually see all the way down to the session level. We can go a little bit further with this. One of the key elements we want to find out, if I'm actually doing law in one practice area, maybe California, okay, and I talked about Cincinnati just a second ago, but I don't see that on my list. So in California, we can actually look at what kind of stats we're having here. My biggest thing is I'm always looking for my bounce ratio. I can really care less about my sessions, new visitors. I I do want to talk about my page sessions because those are also key. And when you're looking at it, it means how many pages did they go through the site. And if you're an attorney, you're probably wanting them to dig a little bit deeper than two pages per session. At the same time as average time on spent can be, or time on site can also play a big role in your lead generation. You really want them to take some time, read your content, see who you are, go to your about page, get a little bit of understanding of who you are as a person, and maybe watch a video. Now, all those things you can still track, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But say, for example, we're going to go, I'm in California, I do law in California. I can then go further into my metros here, and I can say, okay, where is my location? And say, well, maybe my area is San Diego, and I only want San Diego traffic. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at my sessions here for San Diego, but up here at the top, this is where the fun part comes in. You can actually now create a shortcut. You don't have to just add it to a dashboard, but we can actually rename this shortcut. So maybe I'm going to put probably spelled it wrong, sorry. All right, so now over on my left-hand side, under shortcuts, we now have a tab, San Diego traffic. I can do the same thing in a lot of different areas within analytics. But the other thing that I want to show you guys is we have traffic to this, which is fantastic. But what else did they do? So San Diego, let's look at their stats again. We had a certain amount of sessions here. This is great. But then look, we have 61% conversion or bounce ratio. So what does that mean? Maybe if we start digging deeper into that traffic, then we can start to see why. Maybe they're coming to a particular page, and maybe that page is really not tailored to them, San Diego. Maybe it's tailored for a different metro altogether, a different city. So it may be that it's confusing your visitors, and so by changing that page just a little bit, you're actually going to help your visitor experience dramatically increase. The other thing you do see over here is this account was set up for goals. And I think it's very important, even if you're not an e-commerce site and you're a lead gen like you guys are, you want to be able to track all those aspects of the analytics, the calls. Those are difficult to do, but you can actually do that now with a few useful tools out there on the market that actually push the data into your Google Analytics stream, allowing you to combine that information quickly. And that could be very useful for a lot of different reasons, because especially if you're running paid advertising, you can rotate numbers, figure out particular campaigns that really were effective. So with this, we have the join. We actually have an opportunity. I'll go in here in a little bit to show you how to create a goal. And it's rather simple to do.
Oliver, what are we talking about? You're on mute, right?
Yeah, I'm on mute. Doing like Google Analytics right now.
Okay, so
Google Analytics?
I thought there was a question in the audience, so I'm going to continue. But basically, what I was looking at is my conversions, and that's a couple different things.
Hey, Seth, you got to mute your microphone.
All right, I think we're good. So the join conversion is basically one simple thing. I wanted to find out two things. Did they make it to a page, or did they actually fill out a form and make it to a thank you page? And those are the things I'm looking for, especially if I can get get them to a page, which would be this goal right here, goal 1, and then goal completion, they actually went through. And those are the things that I'm looking at. And right here, it's basically just a number, same number over here. I'd love to see this change for lead gen. Right now, it seems to always be defaulted to dollar amount. If somebody's got the idea or answer for that, please post that in the comments. I've not been able to figure that out for a while. Okay, so let's move on to the actual looking through the dimensions, and we can actually go down on our left-hand side. I want to actually create another shortcut, and as we look at this, we're going to go down to the Conversions tab, and this is where we were talking about goals just a minute ago. So in my goals, in the Overview tab, we can actually see a really good breakdown of what's happening. You know, and basically we can see abandonment rates. We can see, so if you had particular forms that maybe they had to fill out maybe 2 steps, you wanted to find out how far they made it through your form. If they're leaving at your second question, you might want to reframe that or reword that question a little bit and see if you have less abandoned goals. And so with these, we can actually see, like the AE. It was on a television show, and so that was a landing page that we had created, and we wanted to find out how many people made it and filled out the form. And so you can kind of see there's kind of messed up here, but it was tagged as it converted over a long time ago. It was tagged with 2 different AEs, so not a big deal. It does have a different split traffic based off lowercase for some reason. You know, when you get into these campaigns, you can also see a little bit more tracking here, a little bit more information based off this. You can also change a lot of different you know, time frames. There's a lot of different secondary pieces you can get into. Today I'm not going to really go through that. But those, I think, are the biggest things right off the bat. Looking at your bounce ratio. So let's go back up, and I'll go right back into setting up this goal in a second, because that's going to be under your admin settings. But let's go back into my goal all, because I want to actually create another shortcut so that when I'm up here, I don't want to forget, okay, those are my campaigns that I might be tracking. We can use this as either paid advertising campaign, or you know, if you're looking at building landing pages, that is something you can easily push utilizing what's called a UTM query string. And if you go out and you just do Google search for Google Analytics UTM generator, Google has a fantastic little generator that will take your landing page URL and put that into a form, and then you basically actually tell it what the actual campaign is, a keyword that you might be tracking, and then hit generate, and it actually keeps an entire a query string for you that has this UTM code. And when you're using that from like an email marketing campaign, again, paid advertising campaign, direct marketing campaign, there's a lot of different ways you can use UTMs. I've used them with QR codes in the past. All you're trying to do is get them to land on a particular page, like a landing page, paid advertising, and then what did they do? We're able to track them a lot further going into those parameters. And you don't necessarily have to do that. You can go into your referral and figure that out through paid and organic down under your traffic sources. So this right here, I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this. So back to shortcuts. And we're just going to go, we'll just go URL. So now, again, so I've got, if I'm San Diego, I want to know basically what traffic is there, and I can drill down in further. I can also do secondary dimensions on figuring out where they came from. So let's go into admin again, and what we're going to do is we're going to look for goals. So over here, we are going to click on this, and so we have 2. We've got the view. So they viewed this, they joined this. So if I wanted to create a new goal, all I've got to do is say, okay, what do I want to track? So at this point, you would say, okay, I want to track my contact page. So it would be more than likely it's /contact, .php or something like that. But you need to work with your webmaster on what that form is. And then what you end up doing is saying, okay, I want to check a destination, right? So I've got a next step. Oh, sorry, I named it wrong. So this is. actually do that. And then we'll end up going, okay, this is the actual / contact PHP. And then I have different options in here. I normally leave these actually blank, but if I do have a funnel, so to say, I can actually say, okay, what are the steps? So if I go contact page view, right, and I actually put / right, and then let's add another one, and let's just say we know this is the contact form completion, right, and then so that would be right, and so it doesn't necessarily need to be required, but this could be. I mean, that's really a step that we want to actually track. Okay, so now if we actually go create goal, we would have verified this, but those pages don't exist, so I would have gotten an error message, just FYI. But here is now my contact goal page. So now, from now on, as of today, it will start tracking whatever traffic goes to the contact page and let me know what that number is. And then it's gonna tell me how many people actually filled out my form. So there's other ways you can do that with telephone numbers. I'm not going to go into that. That's really technical, but those are some really, really simple ways to identify traffic trending. So going back, I would say focus on your actual pages, because visitor experience is going to be key going forward, and it's always been that way. And basically just keep moving in the direction of watching those pages. And then there's also, I didn't actually go through it, but let's go into, let's go back into the reporting, and we can actually see a few more little guys that might be helpful for you. Here's another thing that I want to actually point out that's going to be kind of key going forward as well, because we're really talking about mobile devices. What we want to see is how many devices actually connected to us. And so let's go ahead and expand this down to 500 rows. And so we can actually see, Motorola, Droid, Apple, iPad, iPhone, all sorts of devices. So how does one actually build a website for this type of response from visitors, right? You can't. You can and you can't. So basically, it's responsive design. There's a lot of things, HTML5, a lot of different things you can do for those type of visitor experiences. But what you can see here is on mobile, because this site was not mobile friendly at all when they launched this, they had a huge bounce on a lot of these numbers. So we can kind of see most of the numbers, I think, are past 60s, well in the 80s, 100%. So that's something, if I was running this campaign today, this would be something we would totally have to address. And this is the same thing. I can pull up multiple profiles and you can see those same experiences. Now, the other thing is Webmaster Tools. I know kind of running short on time, but I'd like to actually go through a little bit of this one, because I think some of the things in Webmaster Tools are super important. I mean, I normally would say check this. If you're a webmaster, check it at least once a week. I mean, you're going to get emails once in a while from it, but you're going to get a better idea of what's happening. And what we're seeing here is I always go in to look for errors, but the first thing I also look for is I want to see change. What happened throughout the 30-day span, per se. And when we sort by average position, because everybody's asking, okay, well, what is my rank and everything else? I don't normally go into a lot of rank, because if you write a good website and you have great visitors and everybody's kind of excited and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, everybody's happy. You're going to get the love from the Google from that. Okay, so let's take a look at the average positions, and I love these change reports. The ones that I actually pay attention to a lot more is going to be over here. We've got our click-through ratios are coming up on a lot of these keywords, and those those are normally meaning-wise, okay, this is a brand, but it means that I actually have a better quality score, so to say, that I'm actually relevant, and we can see that even here with Kansas City hosting. So this is a large data center. That's what they primarily do. They're still very low impressions, but what happens is I don't pay attention of the impressions, so to say. I do to a certain extent because I'm looking for peaks and valleys. These are actually typical peaks and valleys. Now, if I was to see the waterfall effect, and then all of a sudden it just stays that way, or it goes completely dead, I probably was hit by a penalty. And so that's why I mentioned, check it once a week, because Google's changing all the time. And, I think my prediction is 2011, all those updates that we had throughout the entire summer, I believe we're going to see that again with the progression after Panda 4, and then who knows with Penguin coming out one day. So back down into here, so I also like to star these things, because if I like a new keyword that basically came in and looks like it's dropped pretty well, I want to keep an eye on that. Looks like I can only star. That's a cool message. Never seen that before. You can have only a maximum of 100 stars. I guess I tracked too many good keywords. All right, so I think what we could do is break it into questions. I mean, I've kind of covered quite a bit other than the top pages. Michael, if you want to jump into that, let me just talk one bit about this part. This is another area, just like your Google Analytics, that you can really reap a lot of information from. I normally export this out into a spreadsheet, and I'm also looking again with change, and these are your pages. So what's happening? What kind of files are being downloaded? What PDFs are people downloading? Are they downloading your legal white papers that you guys are putting out? How many? And what kind of traffic came from that? So when you start digging into it, like a PDF here, we still, okay, well, we have that much traffic. What is the actual file? It's actually, it's stored. So you can see again, those pages are declining. So what happened here? What is that file irrelevant? Right now it's trying to load, so it might be a broken link. So I like to check those as well. And I also look at the pages that people are clicking through. So if they're going through 1102 grand for the data center, I want to know, okay, what's wrong with my other location? Because I don't see that one in the list, and that was one of our brand new facilities. So that's something that might concern me as a marketer, and say, okay, well, maybe I don't have enough content for my visitors on that topic. So I try to use these as well. Look at your change, look at your ups and downs. It's going to go up and down. It's not going to be perfect. These are average positions as well. So the average position is exactly that. It's every time you search is going to be different than somebody else search, and so they pull all those averages together using the personalized search algorithm. So, okay, I am feeling like I'm talking to myself now.
Well, does anybody have any questions? Because I see one from Andre about, he has a bounce rate question, so if you want to answer that.
Yeah, can you read that off to me?
Go ahead, Andre.
William, sorry, it's Andre here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
William, an interesting thing that comes up quite often, and I think specifically in the legal field, is a lot of people want the site visitor to complete their form or pick up the phone and call them, which leads to typically a high bounce rate. It's very difficult to sort of measure engagement with a legal website based on bounce rate, because ideally it's not what you don't really want them to spend as much time on you'd like them to, but by nature of the subject, unfortunately, many of them, we're sort of targeting them to pick up the phone or complete a form, which will be, lead to a higher bounce rate. What are your views on that?
I like that question, because that does come up in a lot of the lead gen sites that I do business with. Because, yeah, they're probably not going to fill out the form. They might just pick up the phone and call you. But what I like to track, just as a ballpark, to know that I'm kind of doing something right, that they're getting to my contact page at least. So the funnel example I used, you wouldn't necessarily need to have the thank you page. You can if you have that, but if you don't have a form on your website, that also comes to be, okay, that's just your contact information. Did they get to that and then call you? And so you have to assume something, but then at the same time, I'm sure that you guys are, when somebody's calling in, you're asking those questions of where they may have come from, right?
Yeah, that's you would hopefully track them from whether you're using AdWords or wherever you're advertising. So
correct, yeah.
But I mean, it's going to have a direct effect on your bounce rate overall. So what would you say is an acceptable sort of bounce rate if you're primarily sort of looking at a lead gen type of site that you're doing?
Well, like for example, I can't show the site analytics for one of the attorneys that I work with, but with them, their bounce ratios are typically about 45 to 60, but it used to be much higher. When we first started, it was well in the 80s. More.
What did you do to change that, William?
Well, those are the things that we just talked about. Going through those pages really is key. I mean, you can go through and you can look at, all of a sudden see a spike here and go, oh, what's going on, with my traffic, and then like, okay, well, I've got more leads coming in, but I'm not paying for any advertising. How are they getting to me? And so those are the questions that I first ask. And then as they get to me, what are those pages? Like if I'm typing in like Kansas City paintball, what page is actually showing it? Is it a deeper page, or is it just the home page? And maybe what I want to be able to do is get somebody like here, paintball fields in Kansas City. I would expect this one to go to a page with our fields, but it might just go to the home page. So I might not have enough information for my visitors that warrants them to actually put that listing up there to start with. But then it goes back to the type of traffic that you're getting as well. If you're marketing everybody's, if you're not just marketing your own practice, what you do, I think that could also confuse the search engine and also give you the wrong type of traffic, which therefore could also increase your bounce rates. So there's not really a direct answer to, your bounce rate is good or bad. I think that once it gets too high, then yeah, there's something going wrong there. You can definitely utilize tools, especially if you're doing paid advertising. I think this might help you guys out a little bit, but Unbounce, I don't know if you guys have heard of this .com, but these guys, I've done a lot of A/B split testing with these guys, and what they have is a tool that you can actually put on a subdomain. So you basically have like ppc dot in your domain. What it allows you to do is make an actual carbon copy of that page that you have, your landing page, and then tweak it a little bit with a split test. So what you're doing is you're creating, you're using a tool that doesn't require any technical support, technical background. It's drag and drop, and I love using this for, especially, I hate to say it, but politicians, because I can test all of that stuff. It's like, okay, what works? Was it a picture or was it a video? Was it the statement or a different statement? Which one actually created a better conversion for me? And once you've actually learned those aspects of your paid advertising, and then also looking at your analytics based off of those pieces of information, you can then make some pretty awesome changes to your landing page internally to your website, because you just basically tested what works and what doesn't. Now you implement those same learning pieces that you actually just acquired and put them in your actual website. So now you're going to get the benefit of a good quality landing page for your paid and for your organic. and it's going to do the same thing. It just starts converting at the same level. I mean, of course, you got to do more split testing on different things, but you can take that a whole different way into, okay, it's maybe divorce law, okay, and then maybe you have family law, So how do all those different topics you can really kind of drive a lot of awareness, and then you bring in video with an introduction of yourself, maybe coming on to the page and introducing the content first. People are lazy; they don't want to read anymore. But we still need that content because they want to read. It's a mixed bag of people, right? So, but yeah, I think if you really want to get down and dirty with being able to get a better conversion rate, you have to really figure out a way to do A/B split testing. Now, there is a free tool inside analytics that I really haven't played too much with lately, but I think they still have it in here. Nope, maybe not. Alright, so I lied. Oh, no, there it is. Experiments. So experiments, you can actually create code that you can actually put into your page. So like if you wanted to change the image, you can do that, but it's utilizing iframes, I believe. I'm not quite sure. It's a different way of doing it. I think this is a little bit more complicated, especially when you're messing with your organic. I prefer testing utilizing a third-party tool that it's not going to affect my website. And the cool part is it's got no follow, no index, so it's not going to be crawled. So you won't have those listings in there. Any more questions?
Yeah, I have one, William. If I look at my analytics on let's say a monthly, the last 90 days, let's say, whatever, 60 days, and I see a big spike in traffic on November 1st. Is there any way to isolate through the analytics what the hell happened on November 1st? How I could try to figure out, wow, did I post an article that day?
That's a fantastic question, and really what that comes down to is you've got an opportunity for a couple different things. You've got with your audience overview, let's just start with there, and I think that we'll kind of get into your question or your answer here in a second. Inside, you have opportunity to do annotations. And so an annotation, so say for example you wanted to actually create one and say it was that November, or we'll just use May 8th right now for example. So May 8th I saw a spike, and actually before that, so May 8th I did a email blast, right? And so I have it shared across all my accounts that have permission to see this thing. So it's not just private. So everybody gets to see, hey, I put a note in here. So say, for example, Panda 4 was released on, what, May 20? So we would actually do the same thing, create a new annotation. So we would actually go, okay, May 20, 20 or 21st, Panda 4. And so I can also put a little note in here, saw increase in traffic. All right, so lots of different ways that you can kind of play around with that. And then what's happening is these things save, so they tuck away just nicely. So there's just a little bar right here, but then you can also see on the timeline over here that you have annotations. So if you saw that spike right here, you go, oh wow, that was an awesome thing. What was that? Oh, that was actually the email blast that we just did. So you can use that in multiple ways. You can say, hey, I was just at a conference speaking on this topic, or we just did a hangout about such and such topic, and then you can really start to see peaks and levels, and then you start digging deeper into those peaks and levels going into the behavior analysis. What did they do? New and returning. Frequency. How often did they come back and read? You know, those are great things to look at as well. And when you find these reports, you go, because everybody's going to be different on what they're looking for. Even though, yeah, we're all attorneys here, but it's different for everybody. They don't want to have all the data, but they want to have key elements that are basically bullet points and says, hey, this is something I need to pay attention to. And so, like this report, I would definitely say frequency and recap. So I want to see how often somebody's going to be looking at my content. Now, the other things that you can do is you get into, we've talked about you know, goals and everything else, but then the other thing that's really helpful is looking at user flow. User flow, we can't put a shortcut to it, but that's actually listed under, there's the tab. Let's just go under here. So basically it's under the audience tab. So you scroll down to the very, very bottom, it says user flow. This is one of my favorite reports because this also goes in more depth to seeing what happened. So I don't necessarily want to know all my segmentation for that. I want to actually go, okay, let's go down to city. City level. All right, there we go. So actually state level. So let's just start out with New York. So I'm going to actually highlight my traffic through this area because I only want to see that segment. I can go back and I can get all these other ones, but right now I'm just more focused on New York. So when I hover over these, I get little cards. Now here's another thing that goes back into percentages of bounce rates. So they call it drop-offs. It's the same thing. They're leaving the site. So when they got to the home page, this is how many people got there, and this is, you know, so you got 59% dropped off. They left the home page completely. And again, you've got your values over here. So lots of different things you can think of. But then you go, okay, what was the next level that they interacted with, right? And so this one was just it was issues. So they had less drop off on issues. So that meant their stickiness. So that goes back into finding out, okay, what's the bounce ratio on issues? And if I'm getting a high bounce ratio on issues, something is wrong for me as a politician because I'm obviously not hitting the people's, you know, questions or answers. So I might want to actually work on improving that. So 36%, not bad, but it definitely can get better. You know, next one, meet buddy. So again, it's the same kind of thing. They're checking out the person. So they want to know about the attorney. So they're going to go and check out what your issues are, what you actually work on. So in this case, it's what services do you provide? Yes, I need that service. Then who are you? You know, and then they'll actually look at anything else. But if they don't get past those areas of who you are, what you do, and why should I actually hire you, they're not going to contact you. So it really comes back to also, so going back to it, fine-tuning the way that they go through your website and helping them get to the direction that you want them to get. And I think this is just a fantastic way of showing that. You can see also, you know, we had a splash page. That was horrible. That was gone in right away. Lots of interesting things happen with campaigns. Too many people, too many cooks in the kitchen. That was a lot of fun on that campaign. Questions?
Go ahead, guys. Anybody have any questions for him?
So, William, what you're saying is, if I do a blog post and I want to see if it causes a big spike or something like that, I actually, when I created the blog post, I'd make a note of it in there so I could go back and say, oh, that was the thing. But if I wanted to see, if I knew when Panda or Penguin hit, you could retroactively kind of look at that, right, and put that in there.
Yeah, and basically, like, what I like to do is I'll go out to SEO Moz, and I look for the Google Update tool, or sorry, Google Updates, and they have a huge list that's already documented. And so what I like to do whenever I start a campaign, most of the time, and that one I just haven't done, but others I've notated all these updates. So like Panda 4 came May 19th, so I saw all the stuff going back before April. So there was updates before May that was not really released. Anyhow, talk about that later. But here's the answer to that, Anthony. I think basically if you were to go through and just copy and paste, so you would just say, okay, on such and such, on December 19, 2013, authorship shakeup. So basically what happened. And so you have, you don't have to go back to this document, but you just copy all this and put it in the description. And so now when you're looking at those peaks and levels, you really don't have to worry about, okay, what is that? You kind of already know that is there, but it takes a little upkeep too. I mean, when an update comes out, you want to put, okay, well, what was that update? And that really helps for really big sites too, because you never know, what could be affecting you today. It may affect you even more tomorrow. Vice versa, you may actually have something really cool, and then all of a sudden have a gigantic spike. And that kind of stuff we see all the time. Like, for example, here's one, and this actually is a paintball company, or not. This was not a paintball. There we go. So you can see in these impressions. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so right here, now I wish they had annotations in Webmaster Tools, but this is where I normally look for signals of something happening. So May 18th, right? Here's the actual Panda 4, and we can see a nice spike all the way up, and it just continues up. So we also have a nice spike of click-throughs, which is fantastic. Those are the things you really want to pay attention to, because if you went up, well, why did you go up? How can I do better? What else can I do? And you basically go, okay, so if I have this spike, let's go back over to the analytics and start digging into it, right? And it's really just analyzing the data and really understanding. I mean, you can go pretty deep, but like I said, staying on the basic levels to start out with, building out, some funnels, some goals. What do you want to track? Do you want to track maybe one of your white papers? Like, for example, Michael, you've got on your website, you've got a couple downloadable white papers, right? So when they actually either fill out a form or they click on that download link, what happened? Did you track that? They landed on that page, but did they download it or not download it? Those would be questions I'd be asking in the analytics.
So, William, really quick, it can tell you if someone actually downloaded the form?
Well, it's a PDF, right?
Yeah, so just based upon the load time, how long they were on the page?
It's going to give you the actual PDF file. So, let's see, let's just go back into this one, and we'll just go back to top pages. You can actually see that, I don't think this one doesn't have it, sorry. Let's go to Admiral.
That's pretty impressive if it can literally tell you if a form was downloaded.
Yeah, let's see. See what they're tracking. So you can actually see even here a PDF that was actually shown actually in the result. So that's kind of a different lead. But they can see that in the analytics you can actually see. I don't have anybody really that's doing white papers.
Right.
I'll show you guys. But it's basically the same thing. You would actually take that PDF and actually put a UTM query string on it. So when they click the link, that's the link that has the UTM query string, that's going to end up putting it into your campaigns tab. So under your campaigns tab right here, you'll actually start to see what's coming in and from what. So right here.
So basically, if they clicked on it that they downloaded it. It's not going to give you a message that says they downloaded it. You're just going to know because they clicked on the download link.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
And then if it's got a tracking piece to it, you get a lot more identifiable signal here under the campaign name. So I use UTMs quite a bit because I can fine tune that. When they were basically saying, okay, Master Text Ads was actually doing pretty well, but when I actually said Master Text Ads killing us because it's actually costing us 87% bounce. Why? And so, design. It was basically a lot of different things that the bounce ratio, it was hard to work with the website that they had. And there was very little modification that we could do other than add pictures and some content, because it was one of those out-of-the-box marketing companies that do just that, political marketing. So when I took on a different one, I actually rebuilt and actually didn't use one of those, so I can't show his stats, but it's the same thing. It's looking at these, what were they? Banner ads, video ads, where we focused on just president, of 2012. What were we at? And then what kind of leads did we get out of that? So, does that answer your question? Mike?
Yeah, sorry, I just had to unmute. Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. Does anybody else have any questions about how to use the tool, or if you guys need help? I mean, what do you charge if we wanted to spend some one-on-one time with you to dial this program in?
Well,
William, can I ask?
I don't necessarily, just like attorneys, we don't talk about price yet.
Okay. All right. Well, if somebody has any questions, feel free to contact them.
I would actually like to offer out something. I would be willing to actually do one-on-ones with whoever wants to jump on with the Circle of Legal Trust members. I think that would be something that I'd be willing to do. So I don't know how many guys want to take me up on that, but we'll do some hangouts.
Yeah, well, I think that Seth, he needs, he's got a pretty, big operation he's going to need some help, because I don't even know that his guys know how to use all these tools that well. So there's one for you.
Well, we can definitely train your guys too. I mean, that's something that I love doing. I'm actually getting more into training. I used to be a teacher teaching web design back in the day with Dreamweaver and Photoshop and Fireworks. So, but
go ahead, Andre.
Back into that. So I teach a lot of CEOs, that's for sure.
And go ahead, Andre, if you have a question.
Yeah, William, I don't know, do you do any of the tagging, analytics tagging practice or not?
You mean like with like the Google UTM codes? I mean, because I use all Google stuff, especially shorteners. So let me show you the tool that I was mentioning. So basically, if you just type in on Google UTM tracking code, right, you'll actually come up with this page right here. It's a help one. And what it's going to do is it's going to actually take you into the form, unless they change the URL. Okay, so say I'm going to track this page. Okay, so we're going to actually copy this, and then I'm going to go over to the URL builder. Okay, I'm going to put that in to start out with, and get rid of my /. So let's go down the page a little bit more. So campaign source, HOA, and medium, Google example, right? And then so all I'm really filling out are my stars. Campaign term, I like it, where it's simple. Campaign content you can use as an alternative as well. So you can actually add more to it, but we're not going to do that here. So let's just do unbounce HOA test. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll hit submit. And then so what it's just done for me is it's actually given me all of the code. So I'll grab that whole thing. Oops. Okay, and we'll copy that. So what it's done is it's just actually added the little, UTM medium equals Google examples, and then another UTM campaign equals. So it's just pre-markers so that it's just easier for the actual API to pull in. Okay, so once we have that, I also use, so I copied that. So let's go up to Google. Okay, so we're going to go out to Google URL shortener, okay, and just for simplicity, it's basically goo.gl. And what this does, as long as you're logged into your profile, you have an opportunity to then take that and paste it into a shortened URL. So now you would just take this, copy this, right, and you could use this on a brochure, or you could use this on a and embed this into a UTM, or sorry, a QR code. I've used QR codes in the past on business cards, on tracking people all the way from a conference and having just that conference name come up in my campaign names, so that I can then track what salesperson had more interactions with people and had people that actually came to the website from their card. And I normally did incentives for my sales guys too for that, because I'd always say, okay, whoever actually gets the most leads of coming to the website will get, whatever, $100 or $200 gift card. And everybody was fighting for it. So I was like, okay, cool. I had no problem with them actually sticking a sticker on the back of their card and running around and selling. That's what their jobs were to do. But at the same time, is I had to have accountability. If we're going to go spend, $10,000 for a booth and whatever out there, and I've got these sales guys that are not selling, I need to switch them out. So, but I wouldn't know to switch them out if I didn't know how effective they were. So, because you can track, once that person's come in, then you can also use your CRM, your client management system, so you can actually go in and say, okay, such and such salesperson generated this lead, and then as they follow the client through the sales process, then you can have at the end how much that client was actually worth, print that out at the end of the month, and figure out, okay, how well did my sales staff do this month? So there's so many ways you can use this, but just by going back into the URL builder is so, I would bookmark this. And it was just as simple as typing in Google URL or Google Analytics Builder. Let's see where I type in there. That would be Google UTM tracking code. So I stand by that 100%. I love how well it works. It had some problems in the past, but they've actually worked through all those bugs, and it just keeps getting better, allowing us to really track a lot more of what we're pushing out there.
Very cool. Does anybody else have anything they want to add, or any questions? Because I know, Tony, you've been having some issues with conversions. Maybe it's just the site architecture, and maybe now you can track it, try some new themes, and then track it with this analytics tool here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We actually we got our own split test going, basically because we found out we weren't getting a lot of conversions. We thought it was the home page, just the way the look of it. And now we changed the look, so we pretty much will. I guess I could put in a date of yesterday, or Andre, and see what happens from there.
Well,
yeah, thank you, William. It was very good. And so we really appreciate you taking the time to come and show us this stuff, because this is, sometimes it's hard to teach some of these guys. They're so advanced, Michael and Andre, but I can tell, if we can just take one or two things away, and your kind offer to deal with us, we do like to pay our way, though, after initial time, especially when we get value. We love that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm trying to get my other screen back here, but Yeah, it was a pleasure actually, being on this show, guys. I think we could probably continue talking for hours. Very exciting stuff. I mean, I hope everybody really kind of took away some of this information. Unbounce is going to probably be great for you, Anthony, especially going back into testing, because you can change up. You can build your A/B split. So it's basically building one website in this tool and then actually carbon copying that into the other, so the B test, and then you can do C test. But what your goal is you just basically take all the same copy you had and then change it a little bit, or change maybe the navigation bar or some little minute thing, but know what that test is. And inside Unbounce, you can name that test, title changed, or picture added, stuff like that to help you identify what's working for you, and then go back from what you learned that, if B was working better than A, can you beat what you did on B and create a C?
Well, William, and where I'm thinking that this is really going to be super relevant is, with the opportunity to go to a responsive web design, and from what I understand, the opportunity those present to feature different pieces of content, or is it your name and your call to action? What is it that you want to feature on my Galaxy Samsung, because everybody's coming in off their phones now, and so I think that's really that's what's on my mind, because we're changing my Castelli law to responsive design, and I'm very concerned about, okay, what are they going to show up, and so to be able to track that and split test that theoretically, I think it's going to be huge, because I just think mobile is the big wave. Everybody's got their phones in their hands, and so if your responsive design is crappy or not showing something good, it could hurt you as well as really help you. So.
And the other thing to add to that is also speed. A lot of things go on mobile. I mean, think about some of these designs, like I'm not going to name, but the big brands out there are actually doing the infinite scrolling, stuff like that, where basically that has to load multiple images, large images, as well as a whole bunch of other JavaScript and whatever else. But that's coming down to a phone. How fast is that going to actually respond is the key of, is that person going to hit the back button and go to a different page, or did they continue to go through your site? And then at the same time is responsive allows a lot better opportunity for flow of the screen. And so when we looked at those stats before about all those different phone types, that's something that really is key, because you're going to start to see, well, all of a sudden I got a huge bounce rate on a certain device. Well, maybe go out and actually use a testing tool on your computer to mock look at that. So there's tools out there that actually act like a cell phone, and then you can see what it comes up as their display. And there might be some issues that you have not thought about that your design team can easily manipulate and fix.
I think we found a gem here, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to have you back, obviously.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'll get that article written too, kind of talking about what we've actually been discussing today. So
yeah, throw some screenshots in there.
Mm-hmm.
Throw some screenshots. Get a really nice, well-written article. We'll get it up on the blog. We'll embed this video, and we'll include you on the Circle of Legal Trust whitelist as one of the trusted providers of information. And we'll invite you on.
That's definitely an honor. Thank you.
Oh yeah, well, thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. And thanks a lot, Tony. I've been buried doing pretrial stuff all week, so it was really nice that you went out and bird dogged a guest for us. And I've been in contact with William for I guess a year or more now as one of my guys that I plus stuff. So it was cool to actually get to meet him for the first time, and I never thought of having him come on as a guest. So kudos to Tony. And then is anybody just really quick, if you have any questions, what I can do is I can just mute myself and let the show run if people want to stay behind and talk to them.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere, guys. So.
I gotta go to work. I was at home waiting for my dishwasher to be installed. So thanks again, William. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys, Michael.
Cool.
Yep.
Thanks.
Let me know
care,
when you're working
Andre.
on the pages.
Everybody. Thank you.
If anybody has any questions for him, like Seth, I think one of his people is online here. If they have any questions for you, now would be the time to ask. Robin, if you have any questions, anybody, I'm just going to go ahead and click mute on my mic and my camera, and I'll just let it run. And when you guys want to leave, you can leave.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks a lot for coming on board.
Hey, Jeffrey, are you still in the room? He's muted. All right, so everybody can unmute, I guess. Oh, we're still live, though.
Yeah, I'm here if somebody was asking for me.